feet. Now you can see that one large building there just completely engulfed in flames. And at this point, the biggest concern right now is for the man on top of that crane, as well as the smoke, the thick toxic smoke that is blowing into the Cabbagetown neighborhood, as well as the fires being spread by the gusting winds into the Cabbagetown neighborhood. Let's go back to Chopper 5 pilot John Massey. John, let's take a look at that other chopper again. Has that chopper lifted off the ground yet?
No, he's still loading up the firemen at this point. They're taking the doors off the aircraft so it'll give them better access to the man on the crane when they do go up. Just moments ago, one of the Atlanta PD helicopters is now circling the fire as well. It's a smaller aircraft. I believe they're going to use this larger aircraft. It's called a Bell Jet Ranger. It's a 7-place helicopter and is capable of lifting several people in there with a lot of equipment. Normally during this type of operation, what they would do is the firemen that are getting on board, they're going to be securing themselves to what's called the hard points inside the aircraft. That's where the seat belts attach.
Right.
They would put on a harness and a tether that would allow them to stand out on the skid and be able to assist in the rescue and get a hold of the person that they're trying to rescue and bring them into the aircraft.
And make no joke about it, and no mistake, this is a very dangerous operation, particularly with the winds as strong as they are out there today.
Yes, it is, Roy. I mean, it takes a great deal of skill to do this type of operation. What that pilot's going to have to do is he's going to have to contend with the heat, with the wind, with the stress of the situation all by itself. Creates an enormous amount of pressure on the pilot. He's going to have to hover that aircraft up next to where that man is trapped, place one skid gently on the counterweights next to the man and hold it there while they bring that man on board. It's a very touchy operation. It can be done. I've done it myself several times. We just had another aircraft join.
All right, here we see one now coming in.
I'm not sure who he is. I believe he may be Fulton County Police Department.
Well, and of the concern for the pilot is that the heat from the fire is affecting the updrafts for the pilot, so he's really got his work cut out for him trying to hold that chopper steady as he tries to lower someone down to rescue this man off the crane.
This other aircraft is coming in behind where the first one landed. I'm not sure who's going to take priority here. We're just going to have to keep an eye on it and keep you up to date as it unfolds, but right now...
Is it possible, John, that they might try to use 2 helicopters here and 2 people on each side to try to get this guy, or is that too close?
No, they would not be able to do that. It's going to be a 1-aircraft operation because the rotor blades, as they're turning, they would not be able to get close enough to pick a single person up. They have to have clearance on those blades, so they would not even attempt something like that.
I tell you, John, I am stunned as I look at these pictures from the ground here of this building. All you can see is a facade of what's left and nothing but red and white hot flames shooting out through what used to be the roof of the old cotton mill.
Exactly. My main concern right now is those brick walls are going to collapse from this heat. It's just a matter of time. And where they fall is going to be the major concern. Gus, go back up to the crane.
Yeah.
There's an Atlanta PD helicopter. That's at one of the Atlanta PD aircraft that are hovering up next to the man trapped on those counterweights.
I would imagine they're giving him instructions now and trying to tell him to stay calm and that help is on the way.
I think so. I think they're just letting him know that they know that the people on the ground know he's there and they're going to be coming to get him. They just went up to check to make sure that see how he was doing.
And obviously, as you mentioned, the concern is for those brick walls there, because if they fall in, that won't affect the crane, but if they fall out, that could have a major impact on the crane and in its weakened state, because obviously experiencing that much heat, that crane has to be weakened to some degree.
Exactly. That's my concern is, in addition to that, you've got 2 of those giant smokestacks, one of which is right up next to the crane and the wall itself. So if that wall goes and damages that smokestack, well, it could be a devastating thing to have to see. We're hopefully they'll be able to get up and get this man off that crane before anything like that could happen.
John, what's the status of those helicopters that were on the ground, the ones that appeared to be the rescue helicopters that were going to try to get up there and get this guy off the crane? Have they lifted off yet, or are they still on the ground?
No, right now, Roy, they're still on the ground. We've seen 2 groups of firemen approach, 1 to each aircraft, They may be loading in, talking over exactly what they're going to do. They're going to talk to the pilot's going to talk to them and brief them. They're going to make sure that they have the equipment to do it right the first time, because you never want to rush a rescue, because you may wind up losing more than, if you lose an aircraft and everybody on board, you could lose 5 or 6 trying to rescue one. So what they're going to do is they're going to plan it very carefully, very meticulously before they attempt the rescue.
But they also realize that they don't have a great deal of time left.
Exactly. They know the pressure. They know the risk. The pilots, they have to mentally prepare for what's about to happen, because they're going into an area that's going to be highly unstable. They're going to be battling the winds and the heat. As the aircraft approaches, to put one skid up there so that they can get to the man, he's going to have to deal with what's called center of gravity, dramatic center of gravity swings. The aircraft will rock side to side. The pilot's going to have to use all of his ability just to be able to hold it in place while they get to the man.
And once they get him off the crane, the key is to not get blown back into the flames. It appears, though, that the flames have died down just a bit, so it would give us some indication that the wind has died down and the firefighters may be getting a handle on trying to contain this fire and just letting it burn itself out.
Yes, that's right. Well, I really don't know if it's so much that the winds have died down. They seem to still be gusting as high as they were. It's just a matter of the fire is burning up all of its fuel. There goes one corner of the wall on the north end just collapsed over and fell. So the walls are starting to fall, which even puts the timetable on the rescue aircraft to move even faster now. But the entire roof on the entire structure is gone now. It's all down inside, so that's going to help to contain and keep the fire a little bit lower than it has been, because the fire is not reaching up through 5 or 6 floors. It's all down on the ground level now.
All right, let's take a look at the neighborhood again, John, and if we can pull out and take a look at that and see if any other homes in the neighborhood have been engulfed or have caught fire as a result of the burning embers being blown
right
across.
Now it's hard for us to see through that smoke. Earlier I counted 3 other homes in addition to the first home that caught fire immediately across the street from the main structure. But there was 3 other homes that were involved in fires about a block away. It's impossible for us to tell right now, but there were fire units on site with those other homes.
It's remarkable that this other house next to that one there has not caught fire at this point.
Exactly.
Truly remarkable.
I think the wind is kind of blowing the fire away from it. If you can imagine that, it may be so hot right next to that building, but 2 buildings away, heat may now be a problem. Okay, we've got one helicopter that's lifting off. I'm going to keep an eye on him, see which way he goes. There was 2 crews, 2 aircraft went in. One may be the aircraft that will actually attempt the rescue, while the other observes and talks to the pilot on the radio in order to give him cues as to distance and direction that he may need to travel.
All right, while we wait for that helicopter to get up, we have another picture of the crane on the ground, some live pictures. Take a look at that, and as you can give you a little bit of perspective, we've been showing it to you from high above, about 800 feet in the air. This is from the ground from one of our mass cameras on one of our live trucks, and you can see right now, if you look at the center of your screen to the left, you can see at the top of those counterweights there, you can see the man who is sitting there on top of those counterweights at the end of this crane, hoping, and there's a chopper there, and apparently they may be trying a rescue mission right now to try to get this gentleman off the crane. John, does that give you some indication of what they're trying to do at this point?
Roy, that is one of the Georgia Life Flight aircraft that came into the picture there momentarily. He came past the man on the end. I think it was just more of a visual verification to make sure he's still doing okay. The one rescue aircraft that was down there has departed. I think that may have been a situation where one of the local companies wanted to assist, but that the other police aircraft is still on the ground down there, showed up, and now they're going to switch gears and get in that aircraft so as to not to risk the the non-trained private pilot.
The life of civilians is what, in essence, is what you're saying. And the guys who are trained to do this kind of work. And John, you mentioned yourself, you yourself have had to do this type of rescue. And give us some indication of how difficult it is. As we can see, flames, the crane now is on fire.
The pod that the control module of the crane itself has caught fire from the heat. So that is an indication that it's extremely hot up there on top of that crane. There was no flames actually reaching that point. It caught fire and combusted just mainly from the heat. It just got it so hot it finally burst into flames. The life flight helicopter is making another pass on the crane right now. We'll keep an eye on him and see what he's going to try to do. I'm not sure how the rescue operation or the firemen on the ground and the other aircraft are preparing for the rescue. The life flight aircraft that you see center frame, or just to the right of frame there, coming into the picture, he may be going up just to check to see that the man on top of the crane operator is still okay.
But obviously, seeing that the crane now has caught fire, that has got to be a great concern to the people who are trying to rescue him.
Exactly, Roy. The life flight is approaching closer than I've seen him approach. He may be attempting the rescue now rather than wait, because this is becoming a very critical situation. He made a slow pass directly above him, probably passed about 15, 20 feet above him.
And that might have been just a check to see whether or not he could get in that close and what the winds were like, because once again, you're talking about dropping someone out of the helicopter to grab hold of this guy and then trying to pull him up and fly away.
Exactly. What he'll have to do is he'll have to approach and put one skid, which is the landing gear on the helicopter. He'll put one side of the skid on the crane itself. He'll have to make that contact in order to get it to a point where the stranded crane operator can climb on board the aircraft. That maneuver in itself is very tricky maneuver to accomplish.
And obviously with the crane, with that pod on the crane,
Roy, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
We've got the rescue aircraft is now lifting, the one that loaded in the firemen. They may be going to make the attempt now.
And that might have been just a dry run to tell them what they could expect?
Well, it looks like right now what he's got a basket line hanging below the aircraft. They may attempt to do this rescue via the rescue basket below the aircraft. We'll just have to keep an eye on them and see if they can pull this off. Yeah. We saw them do a rescue a couple of years ago out in Douglas County. There was a gentleman stranded on a river out there, and we witnessed this aircraft, this flight crew, do the same type of rescue earlier with a basket, but that was on a river. This is above heated flames, which is entirely different. Oh, okay, I see what they're doing now. They've got a fireman on the end of that line. Gus, if you can push in tight, you see the fireman on the end of the line. Is a 100-foot line below the aircraft. They're going to do this with the rescue worker on the end of the rope, bring him up next to the stranded crane operator. He'll, at that point, secure him to his body with another harness, and then he'll give him the pilot thumbs up and bring him off.
All right.
We'll stay with this. This is developing as we speak, Roy.
I tell you, John, this is a frightening situation. It is frightening to view. As we watch this happen, we all are sitting here in the newsroom with our fingers crossed, hoping that they'll be able to get this guy off the crane, particularly with the fire at the other end of the crane. Now, you can see him right there hanging over the edge of those counterweights there, waiting. He's been there for about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. You can now see that fireman going up. They're pulling him up toward the crane. John, take over.
Yes, Roy, I mean, this is not what you would consider a standard rescue. These guys are improvising. I've never seen a rescue where they had the man down on the line like this. This is an operation, I believe, is desperate times call for desperate measures.
And these are desperate measures and desperate times.
Exactly, Roy. He's coming in on his approach to that. The aircraft is going to have to fly directly over those flames.
And you can see the heat generated from those flames right there at the bottom of your screen, as you can see the smoke come up.
Okay, he made one pass at it. I think he's going to approach it from this side, which may be a little easier for him. He's taking it very slow and very deliberately. He's not going to rush this. This is not going to be a fly in, snatch him, and go. They may make a couple of passes before they attempt the actual rescue, just to make sure that everything is safe as they could possibly make it.
All right, we are looking at live pictures of a rescue attempt for a man who is trapped on top of a crane where at the old Fulton cotton mill that is completely engulfed in flames. The crane looks, there is a fire on the crane now. Flames have been licking the bottom of that crane for over an hour now, obviously sending heat and weakening the structure of that crane, and rescuers now are making a desperate attempt to try to rescue this gentleman on top of the crane.
All right, now he's coming in on his second pass. This may be the pass where they attempt to make contact with the stranded crane operator. The helicopter's hovering in slowly and approaching the crane from the south into the wind. The fireman on the end of the line is hanging precariously 100 feet below. From this angle, it may look like the flames are actually touching that fireman, but he's well above that.
All right, and we can see he's near the crane. He's almost at the top of the crane, and as you can see the fire on the crane right there, he's just passing over that, and he's moving down toward the end there to those counterbalances, those counterweights, and we're about to see the rescue attempt take place.
He's approaching. Now he'll steady up just a little bit, and he'll take visual cues from his observer that's outside the aircraft on the skid as to how far to raise or lower that fireman on the end of that line. The idea is to get the fireman up next to the man stranded. He'll make contact with him. They'll give him a little bit of slack while he ties that victim off to himself. He'll give him the thumbs up, and they'll fly away with him if everything is successful.
All right, he is down on the crane.
He is on the crane. He'll make his way over to that crane operator. They've given him some slack in the line now. He'll get to the man, put him in a harness, secure him to him. At that time, he'll give him the thumbs up, and they'll lift him down to safety. Now you can see the fireman has made contact with the victim. He'll assess his situation very quickly. He's placing the harness around him. At this time, the pilot up in the helicopter has got a very difficult job. He's got to maintain his exact position, exact altitude, so as to give that fireman enough slack in his line that he can do his work without interfering with him. At that point, you can literally see the slack in the line from this angle. Once he gets the harness on him, they'll raise him up and fly him down to paramedics where they can check him out for any injuries.
All right. We're looking at live pictures once again from Chopper 5. Rescue attempt. Man on top of a crane, and it's truly a remarkable thing to see. I can tell you, John, that everybody in this newsroom is sitting with wet palms watching this.
Well, I can share there. He has.
And there we go.
He's got him. He's lifting him off. He's got him airborne. The air crew has lifted the fireman and the victim off the crane at this time, so he's out of danger immediate. They'll fly him over to the landing site where paramedics can take a good look at him.
And he's very secure there, and we can see the firefighter is holding on to him, but he is very secure there, and they will take him back down, as you said, John, and let the paramedics take a look at him. A remarkable rescue attempt, and a successful rescue attempt here.
A truly dramatic rescue. I've seen these guys do a rescue on rivers using a basket. That's not as precarious as this rescue has been, because they have a basket on the end of the line and they lower the basket to the victim. In most cases, the victim climbs into the basket and they lift him out and fly away. I have never seen a fireman suspended below an aircraft for a rescue like that. This is a first.
I got to tell you, John, I think we've all seen a first today, and something that I don't think we will soon forget watching the rescue here. It's truly a remarkable thing to see.
Yes, it is. We tend to not give credit enough to where credit's due, but the Atlanta Fire Department, Atlanta Fulton County Police, Rescue, all the units involved here today, this has been a miraculous rescue. I've never seen anything like this.
And, you know, the thing that made this so amazing is because of the heat, the wind, the flames up so high, the crane on fire. I have to tell you, I'm stunned. I am really stunned, but I'm, as everybody here in this newsroom, we're all thrilled to see this man safe.
Exactly. They're going to bring him right back to where the crew picked up the fireman. He's going to pass him beside the life flight. He's not flying directly above it, but they'll bring him right by that life flight helicopter standing on standby to take care of this man and evacuate him to the hospital immediately if he needs to.
I'm sure he's going to have to be checked out for the smoke. I'm sure he's had to breathe some smoke up there, even though the flames and the wind kept most of the smoke and heat away from him. There were gusts of big plumes of smoke that did engulf that crane at times throughout this last couple of hours.
Exactly. I'm amazed that he was able to survive. I think he's a very lucky man because the wind and the flames were blown, or the wind was blowing the flames away from the crane.
They are on the ground now, John.
They're on the ground. The fire rescue will come up to him. They've already got a gurney and an ambulance standing by for the man. There comes the gurney into place. They'll pick him up and get him to the hospital as soon as possible.
Wow.